Hey everyone, today we get our first look at the F4. I want to thank Keepler for not only the early access on this, but also for being the most accommodating module maker when it came to giving us early visibility so we could plan for our server. It really helps. After spending the last few months with the module, my initial thought is still the same as my first thought, which is that the module experience is anchored around its centerpiece, the radar. In wanting to show it off, I thought the best way to do it would be to invite Nelson. He is the Keepler developer that made the radar. This is not a how-to video in where you learn how to operate the radar. Rather, this video is to build context, to set up a baseline so you can be in a better position to start learning the radar when more videos and documents come out. This way, you better understand what is happening with the radar and what is or isn't possible with it. What better way to do that than with the radar maker himself? We start this video off on an intercept. If this is your first time here, this channel focuses on multiplayer sim gameplay. So if you're into that, please subscribe. All right, Nelson, you back there? Give me a wiggle if you are.
Yeah.
All right, there you are. I'm going to call that the wage cage back there. That's where you're going to earn your supper.
Yeah.
So Nelson, here's my short story of how this video came to be. It's that very busy time. It's spring now in New York. And every time it's spring and summer in New York City, everyone, basically all my friends who don't live in New York, do their annual Hajj, their pilgrimage, so to speak, to the city. And my weekends have been absolutely slammed, a lot of dinners and such. And because of that, I haven't been able to fully learn this module / make a really amazing cinematic. So in wanting to give a preview to the audience and give a unique experience, what I was thinking that would be really interesting is to give them access to you and the module at the same time, because you're the one that made the radar. So hoping that you can introduce yourself, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah. So I'm one of the developers at Keepler. As you say, I made the radar and also involved with also made the RWR and most of the weapons for the F4.
So a lot of the weapons, parts of the RWR and the radar. But out of all your children, I'm going to guess that the radar is your favorite one, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, lots and lots of hours have gone into the radar.
So we've been talking on and off for the last couple of months as we've been testing this thing, and I think I told you this the first time I flew this, and I'll repeat it again so everyone can hear it. But my general thought on the module, for me at least, is that the entire experience completely revolves around the radar. Like, when I think about the module, I really think about the radar. Not to be like overly reductionist, but I mean this as a huge compliment to the radar, because it's such a unique experience, especially for the Cold War planes. And I'm hoping you can kind of give some background on how this radar is different compared to other Cold War planes that people are used to experiencing.
Yeah. So the radar in the F4, it's basically, it's the core kind of system used for guiding the sparrows and finding targets and stuff. And in the F4, we've gone to great lengths, many hours, to simulate the radar as accurately as possible, to make that experience as true to life as possible as well.
My understanding is that some of the radars in DCS will, the radar systems know that they exist in DCS. So the magic of those systems is in trying to articulate the information, or the intended response to the players is trying to hide things that the radar shouldn't be able to see at a given time. You know the radar exists in DCS and it's aware of everything. But my understanding of this radar is that it truly is its own separate simulation. So instead of trying to hide things that it already knows about, it doesn't know anything. It just has a set of rules, and you won't be able to see anything unless you truly do sweep over it and see it. Is that a good way to explain how it works compared to other radars?
Yeah, so the F4 radar, it doesn't know anything about the world. it sends out some rays to figure out where the world is, and based on what those rays hit and kind of a bunch of geometry and how much radiation that is, it will figure out how much returned energy to the radar dish there is. And then that returned energy is basically in the form of a signal, and that signal is then processed by the radar exactly how it would be in real life, and then that gives you then can make the radar do things like change the kind of the range of the target that it's currently looking at, or change where the antenna's looking and things like that. So the radar doesn't know anything about like what is or not a target. It doesn't know anything about electronic countermeasures or chaff or the ground. From the radar's perspective, it gets a signal which has a certain strength as a function of range.
Nelson, you just cut out.
Did I? Oh.
No, you're good. You're back.
We got it in my recording, I presume, but
no, it's okay. So we saved it. So yeah, your microphone cut out for a second, but basically the radar doesn't know what's out there, so it truly has to scan over it. So which is neat. So right now, as it's scanning, we're seeing a lot of green things, and this looks like kind of like a air-to-ground radar. When I look at other radars. So can you kind of describe what we're seeing here?
Yeah. So what we're looking at right now is primarily ground clutter. It's almost all of it is ground clutter, and you can tell that on a radar like this because one, it's exactly where the radar is pointing right now. It's pointing ever so slightly down. So most of the radiation is going into the ground and it's reflecting back. But then the other thing is that we can tell the pattern of ground clutter because it's got these long, they're like tall on the radar scope returns, whereas with a target you would expect a much more short return. They would make like a kind of rectangle, a small, very very small rectangle on the display. You could see an example of that probably near the bottom here. Like these small like rectangles which appear, they're much more like what you would expect a target return. Whereas these long kind of returns of green, that's the ground, because it's there and it's always there as well. The reason we don't think these ones at the bottom are targets is because they're only there for one sweep or so and then they disappear. So they're kind of noise stuff.
Okay, so a lot of pattern recognition is going to be recognized is kind of what I'm hearing. Or sorry, a lot of pattern recognition is going to be required is kind of what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, so the main skill is going to be recognizing what is and isn't a target, whether it's chaff or ECM or the ground, various types of things about the radar. Like, for example, this line at the bottom here is known as the altitude line, and that's the radiation which is returned directly from below the aircraft. And because some of the radiation leaks out to the sides of the antenna, that's what we're seeing there. Most of the radiation goes forwards, but some gets leaked out to the bottom, so that's that line there. That's ever present.
Yeah, it's cool. So listen, people are going to be making their Wizzo guides, and I'm sure they're going to be awesome, and I really look forward to sitting down and learning with them. What I was really hoping for this video is, I don't really want to do a how-to, rather because you're the one that actually made the radar. To me, what I thought would be the most unique and interesting thing for people to listen to and see is to really understand what they should be thinking about when they're using the system. So right now, you're changing the gain on the radar, and I'm kind of curious of like, why are you doing that, and if you can explain why that's important so people can kind of think about this.
Yeah, so the gain on the radar is kind of a trade-off. When the gain basically changes the amplification level of the radar, so weak targets get amplified and then they become visible on the scope. The problem is everything gets amplified equally, so if you increase the gain, you're going to see lots more clutter. So if I point the antenna down ever so slightly, we see lots of clutter. If I reduce the gain, you can see only kind of the sides of the mountains will appear. Hang on, I'll do a little bit more. Less of the mountains will appear. So it's a trade-off, because obviously if you have a very weak target, it needs lots of amplification. So what we're doing when we're looking for a target far away is we're putting the gain up as high as we can manage, and then all this kind of noise on the scope, that's called thermal noise. That's kind of like the background noise received by the set, so that doesn't correspond to any kind of clutter or anything, that just exists. So we're putting it up as high as we can without it becoming too... We'd lose the target in the clutter.
Okay.
And noise.
So basically, players need to understand that they're going to have to build up a muscle memory of pattern recognition and tweaking things tweaking the gain rather, to try to help build a familiar picture so people can start to pick up a pattern to understand or to see a return.
Yeah, exactly. And as you can see, we've just spotted the target.
I see them.
Yeah, in the center.
Oh, no, so, I lost them.
No, they're now at the top of the screen. I just moved the range down there a touch. But so you can see them easily. We've got very, very high gain, so they're now visible, basically. But you can see if I have my antenna at the wrong elevation, if I just tilt this down ever so slightly, you can see they become completely invisible. So this is why it's really important you're like scanning all over the place. And in this case, we have the advantage of lookup. So we're only looking up by about a degree or so, perhaps less than that. And we're seeing those targets easily against the ground. We know their targets as well because they've got that distinctive shape. So if we look at them, they're kind of like these rectangles. And we can also tell that they're targets because they're moving towards us faster than the ground is. So obviously we're moving towards those mountains, but those targets compared to the ground kind of next to them, like right here, they're moving much faster than the ground. So they're closing with us. So we can try and lock one of these targets. Sorry.
You're good. Go ahead and try to lock it, and I'll get nose on.
So
I do see a bunch of clutter. Is that jamming?
Yeah. So the radar now is getting jammed. They're turning our radar. They're turning their jammer on when we lock. So if I break lock here, you'll see the jammer. There you go. So they got the jammer on, and of course that's just blinded us along that whole range along that azimuth. So we need to wait until the target is kind of close enough where we can reduce the gain enough to get through that jammer. We're also going to turn off angle on jam just so we can kind of override it, and I think I can just about see a return in that jammer now. If I reduce the gain, you can see the returns are visible now. So we should be able to track it inside that jamming, and you see that the radar is now automatically controlling the gain to try and keep the best target. Now that we've got the target locked, it's much more robust. When you're searching, things can be at any range, so the clutter can get in the way. Now we've got it locked, the radar is only taking signals from where the target is. So anything else that's outside the range of the target is not going to affect the signal, affect the antenna at all.
Yeah. So right now it's past the max range of firing, right? And now we're approaching the.
Yeah, so that top line is the max range. We're approaching the maneuvering range now in a second.
Okay, and then I have the green signal to shoot, but we're going to hold. You let me know when we can fire.
So you can fire now, yeah, now we're inside maneuvering range. And you centered the steering dot. Obviously sparrow off.
Oh, I climbed by accident. Let's see if it still hits, so you can still track against the ground.
So yeah, it's tracking against the ground now, and that's because it's separated in range. The target is not in the ground clutter. Now the radar is giving us brake X, so it's saying we're too close.
All right, so let's take our heads out of the cockpit, and okay, I see the other T-95.
So now we can go into bore sight.
It's off our 3 o'clock. I think I'll switch to a Sidewinder here. Now the Sidewinder here experience is a little bit different too, also with the cage and uncage. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So.
Oh my God, he's shooting at us. I forgot these have guns. Oh God.
Yeah, maybe extend a little bit.
Yeah, we'll take a pause real quick while we talk about the Sidewinder experience.
Yeah, so the Sidewinders, I think is simulated similarly in a couple of other modules, but some of the Sidewinders, they have what's called a null seeker, and that means there's a small gap in the center of the seeker, and when it's perfectly centered, there will be no noise from the seeker. So when it's on the edge of the seeker, it will make a growl, but when you uncage the seeker, it will perfectly center on the target and it will make no noise.
Okay, so basically we got tone, and I'm going to hold down the uncage, and now it's silent. So now it's uncaged.
So it's tracking the target now. We're not in range yet. I've locked the target using bore sight, but now we're in range, just about.
Okay, we're going to rip one off. Will he flare? Will the AI flare?
And there we go.
Did we knock his tail off? Oh, he lost his
Down he goes.
vertical stabilizers. All right, so simple little interception. Nice. And very interesting, which is different from most, especially the Kolovar planes, because typically we're used to hearing a higher pitched tone when it's an uncaged, but this one will be completely silent, which will be a new experience for people.
Yeah, so you will get that with the more modern Sidewinders like the L and the M. They have a synthetic tone when they're locked that you can hear. Sorry, they have a tone in the center because they don't have that same null in the center of the seeker.
Okay, so now in this example, we're going to show the uniqueness of this radar because it is a simulation and it treats water differently from the ground. So I'm going to unpause really quickly, and as I unpause, Nelson, go ahead and jump through and talk about what we're going to see here. We have a MiG-21 that's below us at 100 meters, while we're up at 1,000 meters. So I'll unpause and you can explain.
Yeah. So, I mean, all the different terrain types will have a different reflectivity to the radar. So what we'll do here is put it in PPI, and this gives us the most kind of accurate visualization of what it looks like.
So that big black void in the middle of the radar, that's the lake.
Yeah, and you can see the river leading into it as well, the kind of S-shaped bend.
Okay.
And then all these brighter returns are the cities. So cities will have a much higher return. Ground is kind of in the middle, and then water is not very reflective. So
visually, I see the MiG-21 up ahead. He's going into that river past the lake, and he's headed toward the next lake. So let's see if you can pick him up on radar.
Yeah. Okay.
He's very close. He's probably like no more than 10 miles away.
Okay. That's probably the best.
And I guess this is because what, water is more absorbent or less reflective?
Yeah. Water, I think, will absorb more.
Okay, so we definitely don't see this guy because of the gain, right? He's still over land.
Yeah, he's.
The new meta will be never to run away over water.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. I'm actually very curious. So now the range is 10 miles. Okay, so this is the big black void again is the river.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to find him. Is he higher than us or lower?
No, he's lower. He's lower.
Okay.
Now he's over water.
We should see him in a second. And there you go, so you can see him there. I've actually got quite a high gain. We're even seeing the side lobes on him, but if I reduce that, you can see now he's very, very obvious.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So let's follow him and let's see what happens when he goes over the ground again. Okay, I don't think I have air brakes modeled. Hold on, I'm gonna do something crazy with the rudder. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I see him on the radar.
Here comes the edge of the ground. And he's gone.
Oh, God. Okay, so never run away over water in multiplayer.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Water will make it very... I mean, we can still kind of pick him up there because we're almost co-out. He's very close to us. You can also see the light poles here, I think. That's what this line is. Along
no, I see
thing,
it.
and then these are cities.
All right, well, Nelson, you know, it was neat to experience this. I'm really hoping that people who listen to this now get an idea of not just, like I said, I didn't want people to get a how-to do, but more like what to expect and also like what to think about. Nelson, any parting words for any aspiring Wizzos?
I mean, just practice. It's just going to be getting that pattern recognition and maybe set up a couple of test missions, put it in active pause and just have a look, see what you can see. It generally helps if you know where the target is, then you can kind of split out the terrain from the target.
There we go. I hope everyone found this video helpful, so you guys all have a better starting position to be able to better understand the how-to videos as they start getting released. All the creators are focusing on their areas of expertise, and with my focus on multiplayer, I'm waiting for this thing to go live before pumping out more videos. So in the meantime, I thought this would be the best way to give a unique peek to the module. I look forward to experiencing this with everyone else on our server. We are aiming to be the home of this module when it goes live.
Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and if you would like to help, please subscribe, as this helps the channel to reach a larger audience, which in turn helps us to get more access to early reads like this. Thank you.
You